we are doing Teto's wig stuff. I'll give y'all a little bit of a road so far. I'm doing the same base I did for Freerin, but in the current state that it's in, it looks a little wild. Because Teto's hair is red and Foz shape is white. So it looks so wrong. And listen, could I have just dyed the cotton batting? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could have just dyed the cotton batting, but I didn't think about that before I got it on there. But Foz shape takes to acrylic paint pretty well. Cotton batting does not. We might get to doing some of the paint on this during the stream. But the big thing is I have many wefts. This one is hanging off one of the camera arms. And I need to crimp them. So we're gonna crimp some wigs. So this was my test to do the... What's it called? What are these called, y'all? There's like an actual Japanese word for these. A hoge. Thank you, I have no mouth and I must yaw. It doesn't look great, but I can do a better one. Oh, did I show y'all the drill curl experiment? This is leftover hair from Freeren's wig. But this told me how big it needed to be and how long it needed to be. But I also have this, which will be the actual innard for one of the drill curls. We gotta get the wefts made to get this on there. Oh, also, I decided that for this, for each weft, I am crimping one side. But I'm not gonna crimp all the way through. We're gonna attempt to have some smooth hair in there, but I want the crimping in there to, like, make sure everything gets covered up. Chantal Hernandez says, what cons are you attending during the summer? I am going to MomoCon for sure. We can actually tell y'all probably my MomoCon panels. I just got told when my panels are at MomoCon. But I'm going to MomoCon. I'm guesting at MomoCon, so I'm going to have a booth and I'm going to have panels. That's going to be cool. And I love MomoCon. And I'm very excited. You're wondering how I got that guesting gig? I applied because they're a good con that has a guest application on their website, which is wonderful. Though, the one thing that was like, was when I applied as, because they had different categories for like what you are as a guest, you know? And I applied as an online personality, but they put me in as a cosplay guest. Which is like, it doesn't actually matter, because I still get to be a guest, but it was like, I applied under the category of being a YouTuber. And all it really did was mean that when they asked me for panels, they had to be panels about cosplay, which they were going to be anyway. But I did kind of circumvent them. So I have 2 panels at MomoCon. The first one is going to be on Saturday at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. And we're doing the Cosplay Jeopardy game, but as a panel. So if you've ever been to one of the Discord meetups, we're turning Cosplay Jeopardy into a whole panel. So it's going to be on the schedule and everything. It's going to be more people than just the Discord, because it's you know, it'll probably be mostly people from the Discord, but it's a whole panel, so we have a dedicated space, and it's gonna be that game. Y'all tell me. So there's 2 options for that. I can do it where only a couple people actually compete in the Jeopardy, and I'm gonna make it a little more like Jeopardy. So I'm gonna make like a board that's like a Jeopardy board that people choose the questions from. Traditionally, when we've done it at the Discord meetups, we have everybody at the meetup get into groups, and then the groups work together to answer the questions. But I'm worried as a panel, there might be too many people for that to work. And then the other issue is because everybody's in groups, hardly anybody ever gets the questions wrong because you have an entire panel of people to ask the questions about. So do you think it will be lame if we just have it be like 3 or 4 people from the audience come up to be the participants? Because I feel like I've seen people do that at cons. Or should we make it everybody that comes in the room is allowed to participate and just be in groups. Little teams up there. Will there be buzzers? No. I mean, it won't, I'm not gonna, like, make people answer it in the form of a question, you know? I think that's just kind of stupid. But, you know, it'll be like the thing where it's, like, increasingly hard questions for more points. And, like, different, like, you can choose your category and you can choose how hard the question is. I think that is fun, that aspect of just Jeopardy. Oh, but for buzzers, you know what I was thinking of doing? Is getting, like, 3 different things that make noise. So and I'd get brand new ones, right? So like a whistle, like a kazoo, and like a party streamer. 3 different things that make 3 different noises for the people to use as buzzers, so you can tell which thing. You can tell which thing happened first. Woo! I'm getting through this crimping, y'all. We might do embroidery today. I went to a decent-sized Evangelion Jeopardy panel, and we had teams, and it was still fun. We had at least 6 people a team. Okay, so maybe that would work. Maybe it's not everybody in the room can participate, but maybe it's like teams of 6, and they all come up. And then I was also thinking, like, everybody gets, like an emergency, I don't know this question thing where you can ask the audience, and you can ask somebody in the audience, or maybe you can phone a friend. But I feel like phone a friend might be bad, because like that might be boring. What if they don't pick up? But ask the audience, I think, is fun. Don't know that I did that great of a job keeping out some of the shiny hair, but it's fine. You can see some of the crimping through it, but it looks fine. So now I gotta turn this off, because we gotta make some wefts now. We're gonna make wefts, y'all. I'm doing it a little differently. I discovered not a new way to do it, but a new thing to put it on. This is a silicone mat, and I discovered that you can glue your wefts on here, and they come up just as easy as you put them on plastic wrap. Oh my god. Does anybody else watch Stephanie Canada? So she's a sewing YouTuber, okay? She's like the vintage pattern queen. I watch her. And she just came out with this video that I highly recommend watching. Because she went to this sewing I think it was like called like the Sewing Expo. And they had classes at this expo, okay? Because that's usually what sewing expos have, is they have lots of sewing classes, right? Well, highly recommend going and watching her video, because the that happened at this class was wild. First of all, I'll give you a little brief synopsis, but I'll leave you to just go watch her video. Her name is Stephanie Canada. She's the vintage pattern queen. She paid $90 to go to a pattern making class where the only substantial supplies that were given to the students was like a special kind of curved ruler, but they had to provide their own paper. What? It was a pants patterning class. And so, like, this past Dragon Con, I taught my first corset duct tape patterning class. So we were doing duct tape patterns and making corset patterns out of them. It was one of the best classes I've ever done, because, you know, it's a lot easier to tell people how to wrap themselves in duct tape than it is how to... It is easier to do that than to teach people how to sew. Much easier. It was really fun. When I went into doing that class, $90. And okay, so my class, I think, it could have been anywhere from $15 to $25. I don't remember the exact price, but I know that one was cheaper than my other ones, because the only supplies we needed, and we provided all the supplies. All I needed was a Sharpie for each student. I needed a roll of duct tape for everybody. And I needed like 2 rolls of butcher paper. Actually, I think we only had we only used one roll of butcher paper, and the butcher paper was for everybody to put their patterns on, like once they cut them off. So everybody left the room with a full corset pattern, or at least the duct tape pattern and like partially traced pattern. And a big theme of Stephanie Canada's video, which again I encourage you to go watch, a big part of what was wrong with this class was the teacher was the total opposite of being body positive. She was very body negative. She was making unsolicited comments about people's bodies, which is just horrifying. And she had apparently been doing this, like she's been doing this teaching thing for a while. And I was talking to Pins about this, and me and Pins both watched the video when we were both like, how in the world has no one ever, do you think people have complained about this woman before? And I was like, well, most of the people that go to these kinds of events are older ladies, and this woman is an older lady. And I think that the most reasonable explanation is that if people, she's probably been doing this for a while, but that if it made older ladies feel icky, I don't know that they would have had the verbiage to express exactly what made them uncomfortable about it, because it's not really a thing that that generation is super educated on. Oh, also, there was a lot of unwarned touching in inappropriate places. Very inappropriate place. It was a pants fitting class, which, you know, you might need to touch somebody in a pants fitting class, but there are ways around touching people in places that are inappropriate. And this was a huge thing that I thought about when I was preparing for my corset making class, because I knew that if we're doing duct tape patterns, everybody was probably going to need someone else in the room do the duct tape on their back. So you'd like find a buddy, and like everybody would need to have a buddy to put the duct tape on their back. So it was like, I put in the description of the class that you will probably have to have somebody in the class touch your back with duct tape and touch you with a Sharpie if you need them to. I was very clear up front from the beginning with that, because I was like, I don't want anybody to come in and feel uncomfortable because they're getting touched, because they're gonna need to be touched by strangers. And I was gonna do a demo, right? And I was going to need to like fully touch the person that I was doing the demo on. So I actually had my friend, like a very close friend of mine, who's like, I've seen her boobs before. Like, she's changed in front of me. I've fitted her into costumes before. I've touched her boobs before. Like, it's chill, right? We've all got a bestie like that. And so I asked her to come be the model for the demonstration, because then I don't have to touch anybody in the class's boobs. And it's not like I need to fondle people's boobs to put duct tape on them, but you know, you still have to touch an area with even just through duct tape. It's like, not everybody's okay with that. And it's so much better to have somebody there that you know is okay with that and consents to it. And whenever I would, because some people needed help with stuff, and like somebody couldn't find their natural waist, and I asked them, I said, is it okay if I put my hands on your waist? Anytime I touched somebody, I asked first, because I was fully aware that with a pattern making class, this was a thing. I was also very aware that, especially in a corset making class, there might be some negative body feelings, and corsets are great for negative body feelings because they can make any body look any way it wants to, you know, because they're so structured, and you can pad them. You can make your body anything you want with a corset. And so I was also very careful about those topics. But apparently this lady in this $90 pants fitting class was body shaming people. Appalling. White Rabbit Cosplay says, I don't mind the $90, but you better be leaving with a French curve ruler, chalk, and at least an entire roll of gridded drafting paper. Yeah. So when Jenna Marbles left the internet, I there was a while where I could not watch any of her content because it just made me sad. But a couple months ago, I revisited some, you know, the gems, the best ones. I Want to Be Tall. When the Dogs Got Married, that one. Oh my god. Just like I just revisited all the best Jenna Marbles content, and it still slaps. There will never be another creator like her that could just do whatever the she wanted, and she just had that personality where anything she did was so entertaining. No one, like, I hope she is so happy now and is doing so well, and I would never wish her to come back if she doesn't want to, you know? If she doesn't want to, I hope she does whatever she wants, because she gave us years of amazing... Yeah, I'm a Virgo. Did y'all know? So Joe is a Virgo. Joe's a Virgo. I am a Leo, but my moon is in Aries. And it's very apparent that my moon is in Aries. And my rising is Sagittarius. So I have, like, all the fire signs. A lot of fire signs. Just chaos. Rose says, I miss her so much. You still watch Julian stuff? Yeah, I'm still subscribed to Julian's second channel. And I kind of only watch it when he, like, updates stuff. But I'm glad he's still around. Oh, Sophia Nygaard. Okay, listen, though. Here's the thing. Current favorite big YouTuber for me, YouTube legend, the person that I would say that I would like, who I strive to have my content emulate the most, Sophia Nygaard. I love her so much. The thing is, if you think about it on a really technical level, like, if you're looking at it from my perspective as somebody that's a YouTuber that understands how these videos are made, Sophia Nygaard is a very different creator than Jenna Marbles. Jenna was just doing random in her house with Julian, and it made it the funniest goddamn ever and made everything iconic, right? Sophia Nygaard is a very, not to downplay Jenna Marbles at all, but I think we all know, like, in the level of difficulty of the content, Sophia Nygaard and Tyler Williams, if you watch that, they put so much work into that content. The editing is great. The storyline is great. It is woven together so well. I could go on and on and on and on and on. I have literally analyzed Sophia Nygaard's intros before. Like, written down several of her intros and been like, okay, it's like, welcome, explanation, joke. Right? Y'all got me sidetracked. But love them both. Love them both for very different reasons, but they are very different creators. But is Sophia Nygaard the new queen of YouTube? Yes, she absolutely is. But they are still very different creators. She is a comfort YouTuber. She is a fave. She's an icon. I strive to have my content be as good as hers. That's the thing, though, is I don't think a lot of cosplay creators, not that there are a lot of us, but there is so much benefit. There's so much more benefit to looking and analyzing the content of people in very different categories than you and analyzing their content. Like, when I can't think of a thumbnail idea or a title actually, especially because his thumbnails are like nowhere near mine. If I'm trying to think of like a good title, I go and I look at Small Ant's channel, because that man is the king of titles and thumbnails, and his thumbnails are like gaming stuff, so they don't really apply to me, but his titles, words like impossible, hardest, that's why I use those. Because here's the thing, if all I was doing was looking at Bernadette Banner and Rachel Madsky's stuff and trying to emulate what they do, I would just be being a carbon copy of either of them. And I don't do that because I want to be me. But sometimes I can't think of a for title, and I gotta look at some people's but I'm not gonna go look at theirs. I'm gonna go look at people in other niches who are, frankly, more successful than either of them. But Small Ant is my go-to for titles. Fabric says I love him so much. You know what I used to tell myself? So Small Ant is a streamer, and he makes great YouTube videos. Also, that's why he's so big as a streamer, is because he makes great YouTube videos. That man, when he started streaming and doing YouTube, he worked at a sawmill in rural British Columbia, I think, somewhere in Canada. He's like in rural Canada. The man worked at a sawmill and would go home from a very long shift at the sawmill, stay up all night streaming, record the stream, edit the video the same night, put the YouTube video up the next day. Go back to the sawmill. Rinse and repeat. Miserable life. Miserable life. And so when I was at my office job and I was hating it because they were making us go back to work, like go back to the office after COVID, which was stupid because we proved we could do our jobs from home, I just kept telling myself, and also me also doing YouTube, so it's like I never got a break either. It felt like I never got a break. I would just keep telling myself, Small Ant worked at a sawmill. You can do this. And I could, and I did. I go through phases with Small Ant where I won't I haven't seen his stuff in a while, and then I go through and I watch everything. Especially, like, I'm not super into Pokemon content, and I feel like he's been doing a lot of Pokemon content. But I like, if he's doing a Zelda game, I watch the VODs on his VOD channel. Like, I'm that person that wants to watch the entire thing. And I have watched, like, a lot of Small Ant's VODs. It's like all of his Breath of the Wild stuff, anything he did with Tears of the Kingdom. I've watched like all of those VODs. Oh, and everything Super Mario Odyssey. I loved the when they were doing multiplayer Super Mario Odyssey all the time. I loved that. And I like followed all the people that they were doing that with, so like Crafty Boss and Amethyst and Fur. But weirdly, I do watch a lot of Twitch streamers, but I mostly watch their VODs on YouTube because despite wanting to go do Twitch now, I don't ever really open Twitch, the website, unless my friend Melanie is streaming and I know she's streaming and I want to go watch her because she actually talks to me in the chat. Miss Kitty wants to leave, so we'll have our obligatory kitty sighting. Miss Kitty, where'd you go? Obligatory kitty sighting. Look at her. How doesn't this look so cursed? Do y'all mind if I talk about Drag Race for a second? Because I didn't watch this week's episode. I will probably do that when I'm done here. But I just gotta say, so there's 2 seasons of Drag Race running right now. So there's the regular mainline US Drag Race that's airing right now, and there's also the spin-off show RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the World, which is like an all-stars format show that they have in the UK, but it's queens from all over the world, right? And I'm gonna be real honest, the US season, when it started, I was very excited because, you know, it's the new US season. It's like the new era of Drag Race, right? But I am not enjoying this season as much as I am enjoying the UK versus the world season. If you're watching both, let me know if you have an opinion, but there's some queens on UK versus the world that I am just loving. There's a French queen named La Grande Dame who is so funny and so beautiful and wore literal literal Jean-Paul Gaultier on the Drag Race runway. Yeah, Fake Smiley 7 says, I'm in love with the French queen on UK Versa. I love her too. I love her so much. And I really love Tia Coffee. I love Tia Coffee so much. And then I really love Marina Summers. Marina Summers is from the Philippines. She's so talented. She can dance so well. She's on such another level. And then, okay, I'm not going to spoil last week, but that lip sync from last week. Oh my God. That was like one of the best lip syncs I've ever seen. That was so good. And so in last week, this isn't a spoiler, but they did like a Strictly Ballroom challenge where they made them all learn a ballroom dance, and then they had to dance, like they had to partner up and they all had to dance together like ballroom. They've never done a challenge like that before, and maybe they haven't, like on the Drag Race UK. I have not seen every season of Drag Race UK. But it was such a fun challenge. It was so different, and it was so fun to see them dance together and have them be partnered up and work in little teams like that. It's been such a great season. And then the thing that's getting me with the US season right now is the riggery, the rigamoris, if you're unfamiliar. Riggery and rigamoris is how the Drag Race community says stuff is rigged. This is set up. It's so set up. It is so clear who they want in the top 4. And it doesn't matter how anyone performs. That's who's gonna be in the top 4. And two of the girls that I really like are probably going into the top 4, probably. Yeah, Fabrics is like, it so is. Okay, so like this was weeks ago. So if you're unfamiliar with the show format, there's like a challenge and then a runway, and then at the end of the episode, the bottom 2 queens have to lip sync for their lives. It's the last determining factor on deciding who goes home. And sometimes the winner of the lip sync is very obvious. And most of the time, the person that wins, like, it's you two. If you win the lip sync, you get to stay. And most of the time, it's like, as a viewer, you can tell, like, oh, this person did way better in that lip sync, and they are definitely staying. Like, you can usually tell. Sometimes it's really close, but usually you can tell. Weeks ago, there was a lip sync for your life that was absolutely bull. This one girl totally beat the other girl. It was maybe a little close, but didn't seem right to me. But, you know, sometimes they don't take the lip syncs into account because of track record. So if you're, like, doing really good in the competition, you know, they don't send you home. They send home the person that's been in the bottom a couple times. So it's like, okay, if y'all are going with that rule, then that's fine. But then, weeks later, they have another lip sync. And I will admit that this one was much clearer. There was a much clearer winner in this one. But the girl that won the lip sync had been in the bottom 3 weeks in a row. And the girl that lost the lip sync had 2 wins. And it's like, I agree that person A did win the lip sync. But why did 3 weeks ago, when person C and B compete in the lip sync, you let the person with the better track record stay instead of the person that won the lip sync? It's just been very inconsistent and very rigged and very obvious. And then in this previous challenge, now I have not seen this particular week's episode, but I saw the the girl group challenge from the other week. And when one of their favorites clearly did terribly, it's a non-elimination episode. All I see is riggery. And it's just annoying. And like, I get it. They're trying to make good TV. But when you're forcing TV to be this specific way, it's so obvious, and it feels like there's no hope for the people that aren't on like your favorite list, you know? Oh, also, they did a really cringe thing where they played the lip sync song was the TikTok sped up version of a Lady Gaga song. And it was really cringe. And everyone agreed it was cringe. And then everyone died. We all cringed and died. I hope they never do that again. That was ridiculous. Trevor says, no shade, but the Brulette Brothers Dragula Season 4 got a lot like that towards the end. You could tell who they wanted to win. Yeah, I hate that. It's like... Joe got me into Survivor a couple years ago. And Survivor is one of those shows where sometimes I'm like, I wonder if some of this stuff is fake. But let me tell you, I can never predict who's gonna win Survivor. It's always a surprise. It's always a Survivor surprise. Fabric says, don't do my girl Gaga like that. I agree. It was bad. It was... I can't believe they did that. I don't know who decided that, but they need to be fired. Oh, also the fact that they did a goth design challenge and no one was excited about it. Like, everyone was kind of like, goth. Whatever. I was just so excited. I was like, oh, a goth challenge, yay! And then everybody's like, goth. Meh. Yeah, the goth week was the very upsetting one. But it was just like, why is no one excited about this challenge? This is so hype. There's never been a goth thing before. I also didn't think that, like, what a lot of them did was very goth at all. But that's my opinion. Like, goth is a very... Like, goth scene, emo, punk, they're all different. Goth is different than punk. And they were doing like, oh, I'm doing punk. But it's like, y'all said goth. Y'all said goth, not punk. I think that is all I have to do because I gotta let those dry. So I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks for watching this year-old Patreon stream re-upload. If you want to see the Patreon streams actually live or in full, then you can check out my Patreon because you can get access for just $1 a month. And a big thank you to Mel, or Pocket Leaves, who's editing these streams down for me so I can focus on my main channel videos. You can check out Mel's work on either their channel Pocket Leaves or Pocket Cons, and sometimes you'll even see me in their con vlogs. It's a special occurrence when it happens. But as always, if you're just watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, then you're supporting this channel too. So thank you. Bye!